After my divorce from Albert was finalized, I embarked on a new chapter of my life, moving in with my daughter, Diana. About 8 months into this transition, an unexpected event unfolded. One day, while enjoying some downtime at home with Diana, I received an unsettling phone call from my mother. She informed me that Albert and his mother had shown up at my parents' house unannounced. Alarmed and curious, I quickly dressed and rushed over. When I arrived, I was taken aback to find Albert and his mother sitting on the living room sofa, seemingly waiting for me. Confused, I asked, "What are you doing here?" Albert's response stunned me. "I want you to return the money you owe me." Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Judy, a 38-year-old office worker. I was married to Albert for a decade, and together we have a daughter, Diana, who is now in 8th grade. Our journey began with a blind date, where his warm, friendly nature instantly captivated me. From high school sweethearts, we grew into life partners, and after a year of dating, he proposed. Our wedding was a joyous celebration, surrounded by my close-knit circle of high school friends. We were all deeply intertwined in each other's lives, sharing in each other's milestones. Over time, as each friend found their partner and married, we formed a tightly woven community of couples. I always envisioned our home as a sanctuary filled with love and support. As we matured, our group transitioned from carefree singles to married adults, and soon I announced my pregnancy. Before long, my friends followed suit, and we evolved into a circle of mothers, navigating the joys and challenges of parenthood together. It felt as though we were riding the waves of life side by side, and I believed our bond would last a lifetime. I cherished my dual roles as wife and mother, alongside my passion for my career. After college, I landed a position in the planning and development department of a large corporation. My days were busy, filled with demanding yet fulfilling work that taught me valuable lessons and challenged me daily. A friend, a stay-at-home mom, once teased me, "You're a workaholic, Judy, but somehow you maintain a wonderful family life. It's like you're living 2 lives." She admired my strength, though I often joked that I wished for the endless energy of a robust man. Albert and Diana were instrumental in helping me unwind after long days. Returning home, I was greeted by Diana's cheerful, "Oh mommy, welcome home." Her youthful enthusiasm and warm hugs melted away my fatigue. After Diana was born, Albert transitioned to part-time work at a local cafe, taking on the bulk of the responsibilities, like picking her up from school and preparing dinner. This arrangement not only supported my career but also meant I returned to a freshly cooked meal, a tremendous relief. Albert's thoughtful cooking allowed me to relax and recharge. Evenings were a cherished ritual. Diana and I often took baths together, chatting about our days and sharing little stories. These simple moments brought immense joy and fulfillment. My life balanced professional achievements with home life bliss, all thanks to the unwavering support of Albert and Diana. Their encouragement fueled my passion for work, and together we crafted a busy yet rewarding life, proving that with the right support, one could have it all. As my career flourished, I earned a promotion, bringing new responsibilities and longer hours. By then, Diana was older and more independent, understanding the demands of my job. Albert also increased his hours at the cafe, immersing himself in the world of coffee. Lately, I've been exploring various coffee shops, savoring their unique beans. Just today, I brought home some beans and cakes from a new bakery I discovered, eager to enjoy them together over coffee with Albert, who had developed a passion for roasting and experimenting with different beans at work. His coffee was exceptional. Although both Albert and Diana supported my dedication to my career, I started to notice a gradual distancing within our family. The first sign that something was amiss came when Diana approached me with a concerned expression. "What's up? You wanted to talk about something?" I asked her. "The other day, when I went to see a movie with friends, I spotted Dad with another woman," she revealed, her voice laced with uncertainty. I was stunned, taken aback by her words. Diana continued, "They weren't holding hands, but they seemed really close. Lately, I've noticed Dad talking a lot on the phone before you get home. Sometimes he's so absorbed in the conversation that he doesn't even hear me. He looks happy while he's on the phone. At first, I thought he was texting or talking to you, but after seeing him with that woman, I'm starting to wonder if he was talking to her instead." As she spoke, sadness clouded Diana's expression. Being in middle school, she was sensitive to these matters and clearly troubled by her observations. I was equally shocked. The idea that Albert, whom I believed always prioritized Diana, might be involved with someone else was devastating. This revelation needed to be approached delicately, as our family's unity hung in the balance. "I'm so sorry, sweetie. I didn't realize we were making you feel this way. I've been too focused on work, haven't I?" I said, guilt creeping in as I looked at her. "No, it's okay that you work hard, Mom. Don't feel bad about that," Diana reassured me, her maturity in that moment surpassing her years. I was touched by her understanding and compassion. "Thank you, Diana," I replied, my heart heavy. "I'll talk to your dad about this, If it turns out he's having an affair, I think I'll have to consider a divorce. Is that okay with you? She nodded solemnly. I don't like the idea of Dad having an affair. Just knowing that and still being with him would make me feel bad. Seeing Diana so distressed made me realize just how much I had overlooked our family's needs. Determined to address this head-on, especially since Diana had bravely brought it up, I decided to hire a private investigator to look into Albert's activities. The findings were as shocking as they were conclusive. Albert was indeed having an affair, just as Diana suspected, and there was photographic evidence to prove it. What hit me hardest was the identity of his affair partner, Tiffany, one of my high school classmates and a member of our mom's group. The betrayal felt even more painful coming from a trusted friend. Tiffany, a stay-at-home mom and supposedly loyal friend, was involved with Albert while neglecting her own family commitments. Overwhelmed with emotion, I found myself alone in my room, grateful that Diana hadn't walked in during that moment. The photos would have only added to her distress. I wasn't ready to confront Albert yet, nor could I let Diana see these disturbing images. I took a few deep breaths to compose myself. Not long after, another friend from the mom's group mentioned that she had changed jobs, which sparked an idea. I suggested we get together, seeing it as a perfect opportunity to observe Tiffany without revealing that I knew about the affair. The gathering was set for 2 weeks later. In the meantime, I quietly contacted a lawyer and began preparing for a potential divorce, steeling myself for the challenges ahead. I took a moment to gently inform Diana about what I had uncovered and the inevitable decision that her dad and I would be getting a divorce. Together, we spent our free time searching for a new apartment, trying to find a place that would signify a fresh start for both of us. As the day of the planned gathering approached, I felt a mixture of anticipation and dread. When the day finally arrived, I engaged in casual conversation with my friends, starting by asking one about her new job before we all shared updates on our lives. Tiffany appeared completely unaware that I knew her secret. During the conversation, she lamented her mundane existence, saying, "I'm just a housewife stuck in the same routine. Unlike all of you with careers, you don't have to work because your husbands support you." Another friend chimed in, "I do appreciate my husband," to which Tiffany replied, "I love mine too, but sometimes I just feel a little bored." That's when I decided it was time to address the elephant in the room. "So, is that why you're having an affair with other people's husbands?" I asked, locking eyes with Tiffany. The room fell silent, and the light-hearted atmosphere shifted to tension. Judy, what do you mean by that?" Tiffany stammered, her face draining of color. "It seems that Tiffany is having an affair with my husband, Albert," I declared plainly. "What? No way. You must be joking," another friend interjected, defending Tiffany. Sensing the disbelief, Tiffany tried to deflect. "That's right, Judy, what are you talking about? You must have confused me with someone else." "Oh really?" I countered, my voice steady. "Then why don't you all take a look at this?" I reached into my bag, pulled out the photos, and spread them across the table. Gasps of disbelief erupted around the room. "Oh my gosh," they exclaimed, turning to Tiffany for explanations. Caught off guard and unable to deny the evidence, Tiffany covered her mouth with her hand. "I'm sorry," she began, her voice trembling. "I happened to walk into the cafe where your husband works. I didn't know he worked there at first, but I started going there regularly. My husband provides for me, but he's been neglecting me since we got married. I felt so lonely," Tiffany continued, tears welling in her eyes. Despite her emotional response and attempts to justify her actions, the betrayal cut deep. An affair with a friend's husband was a breach of trust that was hard to overlook. While her reasons might have explained her behavior, they didn't excuse it. This painful revelation confirmed the suspicions I had been grappling with and fundamentally changed the dynamics of our friendship. Throughout the confrontation, I maintained my composure, unaffected by Tiffany's tears. "I'm sorry to everyone else here, but Tiffany, I need you to know that I will be seeking alimony from you," I announced firmly. "Earlier that day, I had also sent a certified letter to your mailbox. Your husband should have already seen it." Tiffany's face fell as she absorbed the weight of the situation. "Oh no," she murmured, a mix of worry and disbelief in her voice. "How could he do something so terrible?" she asked, still reeling from the shock. "It's far worse to have an affair with a friend's husband, especially when you're married. And are you making our affair public? How could you be so cruel? You acted like a good friend while cheating on me. And no, it's not just about exposing Tiffany. How could you do that to her family?" I retorted. "It's ridiculous," I continued, my tone resolute. "People who have affairs seem to think that as long as the other person doesn't find out, it's not a big deal, but what you did was wrong, and it all needs to come to light as part of your reckoning. That's why I'm going to divorce you and seek alimony and child support." Faced with irrefutable evidence, Albert couldn't deny the truth. He agreed to the divorce, though he was initially hesitant about the financial implications. Once I hired a strong lawyer and made it clear I was prepared to take the case to court if necessary, he finally consented to the financial arrangements. Following the divorce, Albert sold the house we had lived in and moved into a new apartment. I pursued and received alimony from both Albert and Tiffany, totaling $50,000 from each. I also secured child support from Albert. Once everything was settled, Diana and I began our new life together. Although the ordeal was deeply traumatic, it marked the start of a new chapter where we could seek peace and rebuild our lives. Over time, the emotional wounds from my divorce began to heal. However, about 8 months later, I faced a new challenge. While enjoying a relaxed day at home with Diana, my peace was disrupted by an urgent call from my mother. She informed me that my ex-husband Albert and his mother had unexpectedly shown up at my parents' house, forcing their way inside without permission. My father was out at the time, and my concerned mother quickly rang me up. I hurriedly prepared myself and rushed over to my parents' house. Upon arriving, I found Albert and his mother sitting comfortably on the living room sofa, as if they had every right to be there. Confused and a bit alarmed, I asked, "What are you both doing here at my parents' house?" Albert's response took me by surprise. He demanded, "I want you to give me back the money you owe me." "Huh? I never borrowed any money from you," I replied, bewildered. He shot back, "I paid $25,000 for our wedding, remember? You were in charge of the planning, so that money was lent to you. Now that we're divorced, you're claiming it was all a fraud. Honestly, I could sue you for marriage fraud, but for now, all I want is that $25,000 back as a settlement." His unreasonable request left me speechless. His mother jumped in, insisting that I pay him as soon as possible. It was evident that Albert was struggling financially, which likely fueled his irrational demands. He had taken a full-time job at the cafe where he used to work part-time, but the pay was modest. "Look, we both were equally involved in the wedding planning, and I contributed more to our living expenses than you did. That $25,000 is just a fraction of what I gave. Don't come at me with these ridiculous demands," I said firmly. Tension mounted as they refused to leave. Just then, my father arrived, having been alerted by my mother. "What are you doing here?" he asked sternly. Albert repeated his claims, and while my father was usually calm, it was clear he was furious and shocked by Albert's audacity. "You're the one who had an affair. If you're going to make such outrageous demands, get out of here," my father asserted, trying to kick them out. In a desperate move, Albert dropped to his knees and begged, "Please, Judy, lend me money. You're demanding alimony, and Tiffany's husband is also after me. I can't afford it. Even $16,000 would help." It was disheartening to see him in such a state, but I replied firmly, "No, I can't do that. Just go home." The desperation in Albert's voice underscored the gravity of his situation, but it also reinforced my resolve to maintain boundaries and protect my family's peace. As tensions escalated, my father stepped in, saying he would handle it. "Fine, I'll get the money, just wait here," he said calmly as he walked to another room. Curious, I followed him. With a mischievous grin, he said, "What? I have plenty of cash. Since we have it, why not give it to them?" He opened a closet and pulled out some cash, creating an air of suspense. "I wonder how this will play out," I mused silently. My father then placed the bills into an envelope and handed it to Albert. With expressions of satisfaction, Albert and his mother left, thinking their plan had succeeded. As soon as they stepped outside, I locked the door and quickly called the police. It didn't take long for Albert and his mother to realize the money was fake. They rushed back, pounding on our door in fury. "Hey, what's going on? This is Monopoly money. I don't want this fake cash," Albert shouted, his voice thick with rage. I couldn't help but laugh as I replied through the door, "Since we have so much of it, I thought I'd share it with you." Albert's frustration reached a boiling point, and he began kicking the door, his anger intensifying. Their chaotic behavior only escalated the situation, and soon the police arrived, catching them in the act. The commotion drew the attention of the neighbors, many of whom witnessed their arrest. In the end, not only did Albert walk away empty-handed, but he was also fined for the disturbance and ordered to pay for the damage to our front door. Ironically, one of the bystanders was a regular at the cafe where Albert worked, and news of his antics spread quickly. Consequently, Albert lost his job and struggled to find new work, ultimately moving back in with his parents while his in-laws had to cover his alimony and child support payments. To further safeguard my family, I filed a restraining order against my former in-laws, ensuring that any future incidents would lead to an immediate police response. Now, life is more peaceful and fulfilling. I am dedicated to working hard and enjoying the time spent watching my daughter, Diana, grow up.